Joining us right now on the Rich Eisen
Just
Show
sitting.
is Kirk Cousins of the Atlanta Falcons. How you been, Kirk? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, Rich. Good to see you.
It's been a minute. I think
It has.
the last time I saw you might have been backstage at NFL Honors or something like that. Maybe where you
Could have
were-
been. We
you-
usually run into each other during Super Bowl week
Yeah,
every year,
probably-
so that's
probably.
always fun to connect,
It-
kind of rehash the Michigan State season, kind of check in.
But you don't want to do that now, do you, Kirk?
No, that rehashing hasn't been in my favor as of late. As when when they hired Coach Harbaugh, I thought the neighborhood just got a little tougher, and but when Coach Harbaugh left, I think there's a glimmer of hope. So we'll see how it plays out.
Well, I mean, how much are you in contact with the program in East Lansing, Kirk?
Obviously a lot of change. When Coach D'Antonio was still there, when a lot of his people were still there, it was
Right.
a little easier to stay in touch. But now with the new regime, a little harder. But a lot of respect for Jonathan Smith for what he did at Oregon State. I think he knows football. I've played with some guys in the NFL who played for him in college at UW and at Oregon State, and they speak really highly of him. So I think the Spartans got the right guy. But as you know, the Big Ten's only getting tougher. So it's not the Big Ten that you and I grew up in.
Sir, I am sitting in Big Ten country in Los Angeles, so you can
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, exactly right.
Goodness gracious, have things completely changed? And I guess before we do hit the here and now, just way back, I've never really spoken to you about this, because I'll never forget when I'm on the NFL Network draft set in Radio City Music Hall, and RG3 had already been drafted by Washington, and then your name gets called in the 4th round. And I just looked around, I'm like, what just happened? And I'm wondering, were you surprised when you got drafted by Washington when you did back in the day, Kirk?
Yes, I think what just happened was the line that was going on in my family room as well. I tell people that of 32 teams that were picking that day, I would have told you Washington was the 32nd most likely to take me. It was a head scratcher. That moment where you would normally be celebrating with everybody in your family room, it was the opposite. It was just kind of a low energy surprise. I guess I'm going to Washington. Feels like a dead end kind of a thing. So obviously it all worked out. It took a little longer than I would have wanted to have it all kind of work out. But certainly this NFL career has been an interesting journey, and it started with going to Washington.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're entering year 13 now after 6 years in Washington and 6 in Minnesota. And the 6 years in Washington, you had to really earn everything that you got as well, opportunities, and then contractually as well. So I guess, like, just looking back then and informing you now, how were you able to make the most of what you got, not knowing when you were going to get it, Kirk?
Well, it was a major blessing to go to Washington. I did not know it at the time. I don't think too many people in the league knew it at the time, but to go into a building with Mike Shanahan as the head coach, Kyle Shanahan as the play caller, Sean McVay's down the hall as the tight end coach, Matt LaFleur is my day-to-day contact as the quarterback coach, Mike McDaniel's the low-level assistant basically helping out. I remember Raheem was the DB coach, but those guys, the guys I all named, when meetings would end in the spring and there was kind of some open time in the afternoons, everybody would kind of make their way to the quarterback room. And I knew if I just kind of hung around in the quarterback room, there would be some unbelievable football discussions going on from a bunch of young guys who weren't much older than me. And I guess I assumed that's how every NFL meeting room was, but I learned that was the exception, not the norm. So to be indoctrinated into pro football in that environment, it paid dividends immediately in my development as a young player, which is such a big part of having a successful career, is do you get off to the right start? But then to this day, I mean, my head coach today was one of those guys. So, it was a major blessing to end up there, even though in my, limited perspective, I thought it was a dead end.
So McDaniel was getting you coffee? Is that what he was doing back in the day, Kirk?
He wasn't getting me coffee, but I'm confident he was getting somebody coffee. And his office was pretty much like a closet. And, and he worked his way up in my years there. He ended up being receiver coach. But there's no doubt that, he was printing stuff and going to the copy machines and, getting call sheets made for Kyle. And, the basic quality control stuff, but he also knew football really well. We would have some really good discussions off to the side, during practice. So just so grateful that I got to cross. And I told Mike that when I saw him, we practiced against the Dolphins last week, and post game after our preseason game, went out and shook his hand and just told him, how much I appreciated his impact on my career and how much I, respect him and am not surprised of his success as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't know if you saw what Tua is saying, and I know this is not your table, but Tua talking about the power of a coach believing in you, and saying that. And that's been a big topic of discussion in our media world over the last 24 hours. And I'm wondering, could you give voice to that and who those guys
could
are?
I ever?
Please, go for
I
it.
absolutely can. It never really was in the culture at some of the places I've been to, really praise you or tell you where you stand. But when I got to Washington, I remember I got motioned into the head coach's office by the assistant to the head coach. And I thought, oh, no, I'm in trouble. And this was after, 7 or 8 weeks of the spring practices. And Mike Shanahan said, just sit down, Kirk. And I thought, here, I can't even go to the summer break without getting in trouble. And he said, Kirk, I just want to let you know that, what you've done this spring has been really impressive. I think you're doing a great job with your reads, your progressions, your throws. Really proud of you. Everything we thought we were getting when we drafted you, we believe we're getting. Just wanted to let you know that and give you that feedback that we're really excited and we think you have a high ceiling and da-da-da. And he said, you're good to go. And I thought it was like a prank or something because I was just not used to that in my football upbringing. But I quickly learned that staff, that culture was to give you that feedback. And that still permeates to this day with Raheem. He's a cheerful coach. He enjoys coming to work, and it reflects in the way he treats people and talks to people. And so I can agree with what Tua said. I remember Mike McDaniel gave me a book when I went home for that summer break. He said, go read the book, Talent is Overrated. And again, hadn't had coaches who recommended books for me to read in my coming up. But Mike recommended that book. I read it, learned about what it means to have deliberate practice from that book. And to this day, when I practiced against the Dolphins, I said, hey, Mike, thanks for recommending that book. Deliberate practice kind of changed my life and changed the course of my career. And Mike said, yeah, when I recommended you read the book, I didn't realize you were going to take it to heart that much and live it out for the next decade. So those coaches continue to have a huge impact on my career.
Oh, I thought you were going to say an actual current Dolphin would turn around and go, wait a minute, he told me to get that book just last week. Because I'd imagine he could do that.
I'm sure he's still recommending it.
I love that. Kirk Cousins here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you feeling going into the season?
Yeah.
What's your health like?
Feeling good. I think I turned a corner fully with the Achilles over the summer, where I could really, get back to my old self. And, it's been a good camp. I think it was really helpful during OTAs to still be able to go through the practice reps, even though I wasn't yet 100% and was able to kind of still get the work in and get to know my teammates on the field. So, I'll keep feeling better as we go, but I feel really good. And, just kind of buying our time now here until week 1.
Yeah, so the plan is, or you're definitely going to start week 1? We see you out there against Pittsburgh, Kirk?
Yep. Yeah. When I injured it, they told me it was a 9-month deal, which would have taken me to August 1st. So even from the moment I went into surgery, I was expecting August 1st to kind of be the clear date. And with no setback, I always thought that was going to continue to be the case, and it really was. And they told me that really it takes until about 12 months to, I guess, fully be done. But after 9 months, you're pretty much ready to go.
Okay. Did you connect with Rodgers in any way, shape, or form to compare notes, talk about stuff?
Yeah, we spoke the day before my surgery. We spoke over the phone. He was about 8 weeks in. And so I was basically able to ask him, what have the first 8 weeks been like? What do you recommend from a, modality standpoint? What should I be doing with my time? How should I be spending my time? Very helpful conversation. And then he checked back in December, right about when he was trying to hit the practice field again. He checked back in just to see how I was doing. And so we've been able to connect a little bit. And, there's a lot of guys tear their Achilles. We got 2 or 3 on our team here. With the Falcons, I think 3 guys who have torn their Achilles and have come back and had great careers. So, that gave me hope knowing how many guys have done it and have gone on to good things.
So then obviously a new spot for you, Kirk, and new system, would you say? Or is it similar to, what is your adjustment level here?
Yeah, I think it's similar to when Kevin came to Minnesota. from LA, my initial thought was, oh, I was with Sean McVay. Kevin's been with Sean McVay. So, we should be speaking the same language when he arrives. Little did I know how much changes over the years when I wasn't with Sean, because Sean's such a great football mind. It was constantly evolving. And so with Kevin, I felt like I was kind of starting over, learning a lot of new, good stuff, but stuff I hadn't done with Sean from 5 or 6 years earlier. And I think some of that too now with Zach. It was a similar system. Kevin and Zach were together when they won the Super Bowl after the 21 season. But in just those 2 years, Kevin had unique ideas in Minnesota, and with the Rams, Zach and Sean had unique ideas, and they kind of went their separate ways. And so now we're kind of reconvening after 2 years saying, hey, here's what I did in Minnesota. Here's what you did in LA. And how can we, I wouldn't say meet in the middle, but how can we kind of combine the best of the two to do what we want to do this fall?
And obviously, you choosing the Falcons and you landing there and you being there. And, we all saw what happened on draft night with them choosing a guy who they're already considering as your successor right now, depending on timing and things of that nature. What has Raheem Morris told you about Michael Penix's role and yours within it, Kirk?
Yeah, I think I think his message to me was, hey, we would like to think that we're not going to be picking very high in the years to come. Hopefully we can have the kind of seasons we all want to have, where we're not going to have the chance to pick high and get a quarterback down the road. So we kind of need to get ahead of it now. But the message to me was just, nothing changes for you. Just go to work and do your job. And honestly, Rich, it reminds me of when I went to Washington, and I thought one thing about what would happen there, and then it ended up being very different. And so I learned a long time ago not to presume something, to just understand that this league, every year is a long year and anything can happen, and just go out each day and work as hard as you can. I remember too, when I was a freshman at Michigan State and Nick Foles and I came in the same class, and I kind of felt like it was maybe a dead end for me because of Nick Foles and the high school career he had for us to be there together at Michigan State. But it all worked out. We both ended up having good college careers. Nick's become a Super Bowl MVP. So, I think there's always room for a good quarterback, and I think that's true for both me and Mike.
So, are you saying in that analogy, like you're in the role of, if you will, RG3, where the franchise expends a lot of capital to bring you in, and then somebody else is brought in, and Penix is in the role of Kirk Cousins in that analogy?
I don't know if Penix was drafted 102nd overall on the third day of the draft, then maybe there'd be some similarities.
I'm not talking about actual draft order. You know what I mean? I'm just
I think going in the top 10 is a little different, but yeah, we I think we both know that this NFL career is a marathon, not a sprint. Mike's been through a lot, through his 6 years at Indiana, then at UW. He's been through injuries. He's had to fight through a lot. So, my story, his story, we both know that this journey takes a lot, and it goes every which way. And you just take it one day at a time and keep putting good things on tape, playing well when you get the chance, and believe that if you do that, good things are in store, and we can win a lot of games, and we can both, have great careers.
Couple things left for you here, Kirk. You've been around a lot of talented players. Give me a glimpse of Bijan Robinson. There's so much buzz about him, and a good human, great human
Sure.
as well. But what do you see from him that might lead to thinking this is a breakout, this is a star, this is an offensive juggernaut that you can quarterback, Kirk?
Well, I think that his movement skills are there. That's undoubtedly true. That when you watch him run, get in the football, you just say, oh, I've been around Dalvin Cook, who is elite as a cutter and had great movement skills. I think Bijan's in that class. His ability to catch the football and run routes is something you don't often see from a running back. And then you mentioned it, just the caliber of person, the quality of person, the smile he has on his face, the positive attitude he carries. You just feel like that's going to serve him really well over the course of his career. So the challenge right now is because we're not taking people to the ground. Practices aren't live. What you don't get to see is the ability to really make people miss and break tackles and turn a 2-yard run into a 12-yard run, or a 1-yard loss into a 7-yard run. And I think that's an ability that he's shown on tape that I haven't gotten to see until it's live football. So I'll be excited like everyone else. And that's true of not just Bijan, but several guys in our team. I can't wait week 1 to kind of see their ability when it's the real thing.
And if I'm not mistaken, a belated birthday wish is in order, right? It was yesterday, correct?
Yeah, 36 yesterday. Yep.
The big 3-6. Is it true that you were allowed to, I guess, work the music for the team yesterday in honor of your birthday?
I'm glad you brought this up. So back when, there's the playlist. So back when I signed, they sent a message out on the team app that said, if you want to suggest songs for practice, send them here. So I went back to the drawing board, and I submitted back in April, 100 plus songs probably. And I just, was hoping to kind of balance out, the other genres that we're going to get. So was just kind of trying to create some variety. And then usually the music played at practice would be my first choice, most of the time. And I always kind of ask for, sprinkling in some of my selections. And yesterday it was just one after another. I kept saying, man, I used to listen to this song in 7th grade, or I used to listen to this in 8th grade, or I like this song. We've got 4 in a row. That's 4 more than we ever get. And so at the end of practice, I went over to our DJ, who was a coach's assistant, Madison. I said, hey, Madison, I got to give you an attaboy. That was quite the playlist today. And she said, well, it was your birthday. I had to play all your songs. And so somehow it got out that was my curated playlist. And I said, well, if I actually was going to curate a practice playlist, it'd probably be a little different, but we're in the general ballpark. So I said next year I'm actually going to curate the practice playlist, and every single song is going to be well thought out and handpicked by me. But I got 364 days to figure that out.
You sure do. One of the members of our team, RJ Herrera, who's our jack of all trades at the Rich Eisen Show, he has a theory that a lot of your songs on your playlist are Guitar Hero or Band Hero or maybe Madden songs, and that this is sort of an insight to you being a gamer back in the day?
There's no doubt that a lot of those songs I do think showed up on Madden around 2004, but for some reason I kind of gravitated towards pulling songs from my high school, middle school years. And so most of those songs were songs that were played when I was middle school, maybe even the high school weight room, the songs that got played. So, but the sad reality is that most of my teammates, have heard and know none of those songs because there's a 12-year age gap, and they were all born in the 2000s. So when I was in middle school listening to them, they were 4 years old. So sometimes you just got to teach them about what the 90s were like and hope for the best.
You're the OG now, Kirk. You're the OG.
It's true. Honestly, when I was a rookie, Mike Shanahan brought Shannon Sharp in to speak to our team. And one of the lines he said that I liked was, he said, keep cleats on your feet. And so every year I have a birthday during training camp, and I remind myself I still have cleats on my feet on my birthday. And so I'm trying to stretch that into my 40s if I can, but that's certainly a goal, is to keep cleats on my feet as long as I can.
Kirk Cousins, great chatting with you, great catching up with you. Great to hear that you're going to be out there week 1, and look forward to seeing what you're going to do in your new digs. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Great hopping on with you and catching up, and Super Bowl week, if not sooner. We'll see you.
Well, maybe I won't see you Super Bowl week,
well,
Kirk, in the
we're
usual
going to see you
spots.
one way or another, either media row playing in the game. That would be preferred. I think I've seen enough of you not playing in the game.
I don't take that offense to that, but you do realize in your new digs that if there's any spot that an Atlanta Falcon fan would want to win the Super Bowl in other than their home stadium, it would be the Superdome. So they could tell all the Saints fans who won the championship in that building. You're aware of that rivalry, right. I'm sure.
No, you're well aware, and I'm well aware, and the Super Bowl was in New Orleans my rookie year. So I thought, hey, let's take it full circle. My rookie year was kind of my introduction into the NFL. We've talked about my rookie year here in this interview, and why not go win the Super Bowl when it's back in New Orleans where it was my rookie year?
Best to your family, sir. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks, Rich. We'll see you.
That's Kirk Cousins, the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, right here on the Rich Eisen Show.
I love that. That was great.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.